So a lot of life stuff has been happening in the background, and I've been really busy. But here are some of the movies and books and music that has been keeping me sane through it. So, starting with books, I have not been reading as much as I would like to. Or, okay, actually, that's not true. I've been reading a ton. I just haven't finished anything, so it doesn't feel like reading. I've started so many things, and I'm between like 10 or 50 or and some like 200 pages into them. But yeah, I have a stack next to me, and I'll just kind of pick it up and give some cursory thoughts on them. These first few are some political texts that I recommend. I've talked about it briefly on here before, but I've been sharing some leftist books with a friend of mine for a few months now. We'll just trade books, leave notes for each other in the annotations, and then talk about it afterwards. Yeah, two thumbs up. I'm really happy to have that outlet. My friend in question is Palestinian, so the discussions that we've been having, especially post October 7th, have been really helpful for me personally, because they've stopped being hypothetical. It's just been really illuminating to have someone to learn from directly and to question just in an immediate proximity to myself. And I recognize that not everyone has that, and with how warped and sensationalized the media perspectives have been, I encourage people to just read books, period. These three that I'm going to talk about direct or overlap directly with the Palestinian struggle in some way. So yeah, we've discussed them, and I'm just kind of echoing it forward. First is Discourse on Colonialism. Really skinny book, but got a ton out of this one, especially. I feel like I could flip to any page and there would just be like so much annotation and just notes to each other. It really, really dense, but yeah. It talks about some like Western ideals in relation to colonialism and degrading others and setting the groundwork for like anti-war sentiment and like civil rights movements to come. It's referenced a lot for good reason, just to better understand like the history and the diaspora. Highly encourage the book. Another book is The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. While the black experience is obviously not the same as the Palestinian experience, there is a lot of overlap in just having a native people that were colonized and displaced and subjugated and then had their history erased. The central message of this book is a call for solidarity and unity and exploring a lot of world history. There's Islamic and Arabic included as well. But yeah, just really insightful, and I do think that there is overlap between both of those struggles. And then lastly is the book The Politics of Trauma. So being in the full throes of like a social activism age, this book functions as a sort of guide on how to improve on an individual level from the structural / systemic forces that are enacting a violence on the whole. But the focus of this book is kind of just bridging the gap or interconnecting between social change and individual growth. I'll just say it again. It's like a good guide on not only how to support yourself, but supporting those around us, which I feel like right now is really important to do. And then one other book that I haven't read, but I've been recommended it more than once. And if you're trying to learn about like the history of Palestine, I think it's a good place to start from what I've heard. It is called Hamas Contained by Tariq Bakoni. A lot of political texts are a bit dated, like even the ones I just held up, but this one came out in the last 5 years, I'm pretty sure. I think 2018. But yeah, I know not everyone is going to read like a textbook, but I just encourage people to read in general. If you're not, going to rallies or protests or boycotting, just at least be informed. I hope everyone continues to educate themselves and advocate for other people to do the same. I think these are good places to start if you're looking for somewhere to start. But yeah, I have a decent sized platform, so I just want to open the video by saying that. Obviously, I've also been reading for fun, like outside of educating. So yeah, equal parts education and escapism. Here are some of the books that I've just been reading for fun. Alexander, what is this? Berlin Alexander Platz. Sorry. I'm like 10 pages into this, but the style is really grabbing me. It's like past tense, sort of like dramatic irony going on, really wry, like black comedy. Um, yeah, like I said, I'm like barely into it, but the style, it kind of reminds me of, oh, what's her name? Eileen Jelinek or something, the piano teacher writer. I'm gonna beat myself up for forgetting her name. Anyways, another book I picked up is A Woman's Story, mostly because of the size. I haven't finished a book in so long that I just want to reach the last page to feel something. Even though I haven't finished this either, I'm only like 10 something pages in. But the writing is good. I'm just kind of scared of how short this is. I know it's going to pack a punch in terms of like grief bombing me. Then there's When We Cease to Understand the World. This is kind of like, I don't know, like run-on sentency-ish. Not in a way where it's like incoherent or like hard to keep up with, but just I don't know what to start like describing it by, because the topic or like theme changes like from page to page. It kind of reminds me, the best way I can think of to explain it is like an episode of How To with John Wilson, where you start with like one premise and then just kind of like spider web your way to somewhere completely different, but it was so gradual that it's not like jarring. But yeah, this is the same way, where just in the first essay it's gone from like blue period paintings to like almond slash cyanide like portion of people who can it's just a mix of like a fictitious history and like legitimate history. I don't know, but it's like tagged as fiction, so like even though it is presenting like nonfiction stuff, my like eyebrow is raised the whole time. It's fun to read. I just haven't picked it back up since putting it down. Same with this, Henry Dukeman and His Shadows. Really enjoyed this book, period, until I realized that the first chapter was not a chapter. It was like the first of a collection of short stories, and I was really disappointed. I wish it just kept going in like the same scene and setting and character or whatever, because I was really enjoying it like a ton. But I just did not have it in me to like short story collection, like start, stop. So put it down. But the first story was great. Then there is South and West by Joan Didion. Not too far into this either, but I picked it up like in a bookstore and like read the first 5 pages and did not want to put it back. It's about like just transcriptions from a notebook that she kept during a trip to the South and West. The South being, I think, New Orleans was the part that I read, and it was wild. Like someone died in like the first 5 pages, and even just like outside of things happening, just the writing of her thoughts on like a sentence level, really engaging, really singular. Like, yeah, her writing style obviously is like very revered. Yeah, I liked it. Then, I'm sorry in advance. Yeah, no comment. Then, when I did want to read a short story collection, I went with Shortcuts by Raymond Carver. The last Raymond Carver collection that I read was one of my favorites of the last year, so had really high hopes for this, and am enjoying it a lot. I'm like 5 stories in, like 50 something pages. But yeah, like kind of like a comfort read, because I know that I like the author, although the stories themselves are not comforting. They're still like weird, liminal, spacey, like middle America. Yeah, they give me like goosebumps every time I finish one, but really enjoying it. Also, just because it says it at the top, or like there's a movie version of it that I plan to watch by Altman, and on a bit of an Altman kick lately. Slight spoiler for the like movie section of this video, but last week or earlier this week I guess, I watched The Long Goodbye by Altman / Elliot Gould was like the main lead. And I really liked the last Gould Altman movie that I watched, which was California Split. Yeah, guilty pleasure aside, it was so good. And I'm really excited at the idea of like an Altman adaptation of Raymond Carver's short stories. No idea what that will end up looking like, but yeah, excited at the prospect. So I will definitely watch that. And a bit of an Altman kick. My expectations are kind of getting tempered because The Long Goodbye was... the second half I did not enjoy, but yeah, this is exciting. And then also kind of tangential, but when I rewatched The Shining like during October, like for Halloween, I ended up adding Three Women, the movie Three Women, to my watch list because Shelley Duvall is also in that, and I was like, oh, I'll watch that. Then come to find out that that movie is also directed by Altman, so it's just a recurring theme for the year. Hopefully, I like one of those two a lot more than The Long Goodbye. It wasn't a bad movie, but yeah, California Split was like so close to being a five. I was like, that's a great movie. So yeah, hopefully Shortcuts or Three Woman does it for me. Still some more books to talk about. Just some small movie caveat. These are more perspective. Like I've barely started these, and I want to definitely read these soon. So first is How I Take Photographs by Daido Moriyama. This is an interview collection. I've been getting way too into film. I say way too because it's too expensive, but yeah, it's so much fun right now. I actually just got a new camera. It is a Konica Big Mini because unfortunately the Auto Boy that I was shooting with no longer works. Like it doesn't advance the roll, and I just don't trust it. So I got this little thing. It's so cute and small and awesome. It's still point and shoots. It's still really easy. There's like a bunch of little settings you can do, and it is awesome and I love it. Amen. You can kind of see, how does my camera work? You're not gonna be able to read that. Anyways, I have HP5 in it, so I'm shooting black and white for the first time. That's another reason why I'm just having like a ton of fun with it, is because every film stock is new to me, so they all just are, I don't know, super fun and rewarding. I just shot, I'll get into it later, that's another video, but anyways, really into film photography, and I was kind of looking for like photo book adjacent stuff, although I just didn't want to like buy like a photo book of like just pictures. So this is like the one photographer that I started learning anything about, and I was like, I'll just see if there's a book on him. There was, and it's really cool. So obviously there is still like photo book stuff going on, but there are some like interview. I forgot how to record videos. There's like interview sections where he just kind of like talks about his process, and then there's obviously just like a ton of like photo examples. He shot a lot in black and white of like street photography, really like thresholded, and yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to keep reading it, get some little inspiration, etc. But he was really cool. He did this like other photo book thing, as I try to remember. My lips are dry as hell. Anyways, he did like a magazine called Revolt or Provoke, and it only did 3 issues, but it was really cool. Like 90s, I think it was 90s or 80s, but yeah, just like black and white, like thresholded, really like kind of aggressive, like in your face, like heavy contrast images. Kind of reminded me of Funeral Parade of Roses, like that, just sort of like visually they just remind me of each other. I'll probably put something on screen, hopefully. Anyways, yeah, Daido Moriyama, really cool. I was gonna get like the Provoke, is that what they're called? Anyways, I was gonna get the magazines, and then I ended up finding the book while I was looking and just got that instead. I read the first interview, and yeah, it seems cool. Then this is another like photography book. This is like a biography written about a photographer called Gene Smith, and it just talks about like his history, his process, his legacy. He had a lot of intersection with music. One of the blurbs on the front talk about like a lecture he was giving. I'll just read that real quick. It says, I was once present at a lecture that Eugene Smith gave to some students at a school of photography. At the end, they protested because he had made no mention of photography, but had spoken the whole time about music. He calmed them by saying that what was valid for one was valid for another. So the intersection of photography and music, I have no idea what that entails, but that sounds super interesting to me. Speaking of, I'll kind of get into music here pretty soon because I'm almost done with the stack of books. But I've been listening to some music. Anyways, this book I have not heard anyone talk about or like anything like that. I've got it because it was referenced in another book that I was reading, which was Inciting Joy by Ross Gay, and he just mentioned the book as being like one of the best like seminal like biographies that he's written or read. And so I was like, oh, I'll take your word for it. Once I found out it was about photography/music, I was like, oh, awesome. But yeah, this book is also awesome. This is probably the book I'm the furthest in out of the stack. I'm like 200-ish pages in. Anyways, I'm almost done with it. Been like, I like dog ear the bottom of my book, kind of psychotic, but yeah, a ton of like annotations, if you want to call them that, because every few pages is just like some otherworldly sentence or sentiment or like emotion that's being put into words that has super resonated with me. I think the first like 5 essays all made me cry like heavy. Been really enjoying that, and I've also been double dipping and reading the Book of More Delights, which, if you look at the sticker, it was signed by the author, which is pretty cool. Way too expensive, but like finding it in the wild signed, and I was like, I kind of need that. Yeah, anyways, obviously this has just been like a huge like mood lifter. Ross Gay wrote one of my favorite books last year called, or actually, wait, was it this year? Dude, I'm so lost. Anyways, it's called The Book of Delights, and super good, like life-changing, unironically, in terms of like perspective shift and just encouraging you to like meet life halfway is the best way that I can put it. So yeah, just reinvigorating that, like just double dipping on like some Ross Gay motivation, and it's been super nice. Yeah, I don't think I'd need to do like a separate video, just like putting my thoughts into words, because I don't think I'm going to convey like the complexity or like intensity of the things that he's getting across, or like how much I'm resonating with it. But yeah, just really great books, and one of my favorite authors. Speaking of something that I found out, actually, I'm gonna pause to get water. Okay, all better. Also, one of my fatal flaws, something I realized recently, is that I am like a person. Like after I take a sip of any beverage, it just involuntarily comes out, and I'm not ashamed. I just did the biggest of my life just now. Okay, so here's what I wanted to bring up. Ross Gay, writer, person, poet. I was looking for, I think I just looked up to see like if he was going on like a speaking tour or something with like the book. And then when I went on his website, I ended up seeing a section that was like something books/vinyl, and I was like, what the hell are you talking about vinyl for? And so I went on his website and ended up seeing this record, which is a like spoken word collection of the book he did. I think it's called Categories or Collection of Unabashed Gratitude. Catalog of Unabashed Gratitude. My apologies. Anyways, this is like a spoken word album, but I don't think it's going to show up on camera. I will hold it as close as I can anyways. Where would it show up? It's like off-white, like gray text. I'll just read it. You'll just have to trust me on this one. But anyways, there's like certain poems, and then it's like featuring Bon Iver, Mary Lattimore, Sam Gendel, Angel Bat DeWitt, and Gia Margaret. Anyways, those 3 names of like Sam Gendel, Bon Iver, and Mary Lattimore really appealed to me, and I was like, I have to hear this. And it's just so cool that like 2 people that separately I like a lot collabed in a way that I just was not aware of. So I ended up getting that, and I have not listened to it yet. I'm sorry, but I was just so excited that it existed that I was like, have to get it. And that leads me to something else that happened last week, which was I saw Mary Lattimore in concert. So yeah, just divine timing, like cosmic whatever. But once I like looked up that and was like, oh, Ross Gay is connected to Mary Lattimore, that's so cool. I was like, oh, well, what's Mary Lattimore up to? Because she just released her album Goodbye Hotel Arcada, which I ended up getting at the tour. So yeah, I ended up checking in on Miss Mary, and I was like, oh, she's coming to Austin in like a week. So then yeah, I ended up going. I went by myself. The concert was in like a church, so the acoustics were crazy. The audience was so old though, it was pretty awkward. Everyone was like 40 and above, so I was like the only person like taking pictures or like moving, or I don't know, just reacting in general. And because it was in a church, yeah, I don't know, just like war flashbacks going on. Anyways, I got some cool pictures on my camera, and I'm excited to see them developed. Yeah, I'll show y'all probably eventually. But I ended up meeting her. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, she was like manning like the merch table, and interaction went so like lackluster. She was totally polite and everything, but I just wasn't mentally prepped for that, and so I had nothing interesting to say or like convey anything. It was very like just transactional, and I was listening to the audiobook of the Book of More Delights by Ross Gay on the drive up, and so I should have like connected the dots and just asked me like, oh, what was it like to work with Ross Gay? Because like this project is like such like a small like, I don't know, just unknown thing, and like I had no idea about it, and I'm a big fan of both of them, and so yeah, it would have been cool to like ask her in person. Didn't get the chance, but such is life. Such is life. Anyways, guess that just leads me into like music of like albums that I've been listening to. So here are some albums I've listened to lately. Obviously, the Mary Lattimore album is one, and I have the rest written down somewhere. Goodbye Hotel Arcada. And then Why Couldn't Things Just Stay the Same by the Autocolents or Autocolents. I don't know how to say it, but they are like shoegazy, like early 90s or late 90s, early 2000s, like twee pop, shoegaze sort of stuff going on, kind of giving Kittycraft a little bit, but yeah, really good stuff. There's a song called Apple Vines, love it, crazy. Been listening to Milk and Kisses by the Cocteau Twins, classic, but a lot of those songs have just been like earworms, like Rookie and Heart or Serpent Skirt. Yeah. In Spring by Tara Clerkin Trio, just a small little EP, but yeah, love it so much. Like two of the songs I'm obsessed with. I think one is called In Spring and the other one is, I have to look it up. That's gonna bother me if I don't know. Sorry, this is unprofessional, but it's called Night Steps. The other album is There's No Place Like America Today by Curtis Mayfield. I have just been on a kick of like Curtis Mayfield, and this album in particular just been so on repeat. Like it's super soulful and funky obviously, but it's also like very politically charged and just kind of relevant in certain ways, like the song Blue Monday People, but there's also just some more like soulful cuts like Jesus, or the opener, I think, is it Billy Jack? I really should have prepped more because I don't. Yeah, it is Billy Jack. Okay. Anyways, really good album. I've been listening to it a lot. Another album I've revisited is Satin Doll by Bobby Humphrey. A lot of woodwinds, like a jazz album for sure, but super good. Between Bobby Humphrey's albums, I mostly gravitate towards blacks and blues, but this one, Satin Doll, there's some songs that like I've generally liked, but like front to back album, I've never really listened to it. I think the song I liked was New York Times. I have to look it up again, sorry. Yeah, it is New York Times. Okay. But I've been listening to the whole thing, and the song My Little Girl is so crazy, like so crazy good and awesome. Obviously the new Andre 3000 album, New Blue Sun, been listening to that, although I want to keep revisiting it. I've only listened to it once, and it was kind of like while I was doing other stuff, so I wasn't super like listening. So yeah, want to revisit that. Speaking of revisiting, I've been re-listening to the Alabaster de Plume album Come With Fierce Grace. Listening to it when it came out, but yeah, just kind of going back to it and really liking it. The opening track is such a good start to the album, and it improves from there, like stays consistent through there. It's such a high note. Then I've been listening to Country Moog / Nashville Gold. The Moog is like this electronic synthesizer that was popularized by Mort Garson, who's the dude who did Plantasia, like the very like iconic kind of like cult classic electronic album for Plants. But and like the Moog synthesizer in general uh, has been using like a ton of stuff, and there's like a specific genre of just like recreating kind of like classic music through like purely digital means, a lot of which being like the Moog. So this album is like a recreation of like country classics, like standards, on like a Moog synthesizer. There's a bunch of songs like Little Green Apples or I Can't Stop Loving You or Wichita Lineman, I think it's called. Anyways, really great. I like love the sound on this and like the feeling. It's beautiful. It's so good. Then I've been listening to another sort of like softer like electronic ambient album by Rodalius. This one is, I'm gonna mispronounce, but Hardin Aufu. It's so interesting. Obviously, Rodalius has been like involved in like a ton of different ambient projects between like Cluster with Brian Eno or just on his own. With that one album, I don't remember what it's called because it's in a different language, but it's like the picture of him with like his feet in a creek. There's one song. Oh, I hate to look everything up, but I need to know just for myself. When Do Sudwind Went. It's the opening track of the album. So good. So good. Anyways, I ended up listening to some Kate LeBon song, and then from there I went to like the Spotify like artists inspiration playlist, and there was a song by Rodalius on like a random album I had not heard of, but the album cover looked crazy. It'll be on screen so you'll see it, but yeah, I was like, I have to know what that sounds like. So I ended up listening to it, and really soft, a lot of like field sounds, in terms of like bird chirping and just kind of like actual like natural ambience. I'm trying to find the song. I can't find it though. Anyways, I really enjoyed the album. There's some songs that are just like straight up like clown music, like it sounds like it's at a carnival. There's some remixes at the end as well, but I just listened to like the vanilla album, and yeah, track 3 was great, track 6 was great, and then I think track 9 as well. Anyways, really good, cool, like new to me, which was really exciting. A lot of these albums are like revisiting some of them, but this one was just straight up like had never heard it, had never heard anything like it, and yeah, really enjoyed it. I've been listening to it a bunch. 2 more albums. One is like kind of in the same vein as like field note, like plant sounds or whatever. It is called Kagayaki, and I think, I don't know how many people know about this or not, but yeah, the album cover is so awesomely cute, amazing. But it's a lot of like rhythmic, hypnotic, sort of like field soundy, like ambient electronic stuff. I don't know like exactly what genre it would be, but really enjoying this. I'd heard it like a long time ago, like a few years ago, but revisited it recently, just because I don't know, something reminded me, and then yeah, pleasantly surprised at like how well it's holding up. And another revisit for me has been East, or like YS, by Joanna Newsom. Just have it on vinyl, and so I put it on the other day and just forgot how good it was. Yeah, just really like sprawling tracks, so like dense and layered and textured. The song Sawdust and Diamonds, Diamond singular maybe, is so good. It's crazy. I forget about Joanna Newsom a lot just because she's not on Spotify, so there would be like long stretches where I just don't listen to her because she's not like pushed or like algorithmed into my ears or whatever. And every time I go back, I'm just like re-falling in love and like re-remembering why she's like one of my favorites, period. Which Mary Lattimore is quickly also approaching that same like favorite harpist range. So yeah, I'm super stoked that I got to meet her earlier in this week, but doubly like beating myself up about like not having a good interaction because I wish I just conveyed a little bit more. Anyways, I'll live. Lastly are some movies that I have watched recently. So I've slowed down a ton, like reading and watching movies, but there was that one stint like 2 months ago where I watched like 50, and I only talked about 3 of them, so I'm gonna double dip and just kind of go back in like my list of things I've watched. because a couple of those have stuck with me and I've like kept thinking about them. Namely, okay, so obviously I watched The Long Goodbye this week. Naturalist, sort of like freewheeling, not unscripted, but like very loose. And there's one scene in particular of like people at the beach at night that like stuck with me. But overall, I like wasn't super thrilled on the movie one way or another. One movie I was disappointed by was Vertigo. I watched it for the first time the day after. It's like also last week, and I've heard so much about like that movie, like Hitchcock's masterpiece, whatever, like that and Rear Window have just been like talked up to the high heavens. And so watching it, I was definitely being critical, just because I don't know, Hitchcock doesn't super do it for me, the same way that something like an Orson Welles movie would. Just style wise, I don't know, something is like missing, or they just feel like even more dated than they are. Like I remember watching, sorry, I'm getting tangential, but the 39 Steps was like another Hitchcock movie I watched. So ass, like just so bad. And at that point, I was like, wait, these movies can be bad. And like once I like unlocked that thought, I was like, oh, and a lot of them are. And so yeah, him specifically, I feel like I'm just a little like overly critical of, just because how much he's praised. Anyways, Vertigo. Didn't like it. First half was good. Second half, just such a tonal shift, and it becomes so much about like this love story that did not rub me the right way. Also, the lead actor is the same guy from Anatomy of a Murder. Hate that dude. He talks like this, and it's just so like grating. He's like 50 something, and it's like I'm not rooting for this like old ass man, but he's still some like the worst on-screen kisses. Oh my god, yeah, no, it was a rough watch. First half was good. There was like tension, suspense, mystery, like visually super super striking, and like the camera techniques themselves are also really interesting. There's one shot where they're in a restaurant and it's like just pulling back from like kind of like a window like over like a bunch of tables, and it's like super common basic these days, but I was just like, how in the hell did they do that back in the, like, were there even like light bulbs back then? It's like pre-electricity and they're doing shit like that. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, the movie itself just lost me eventually and did not win me back. Anyways, watched those recently. Some that I watched a while ago that I'm still thinking about are Three Colors Blue, part of like this like French trilogy of like blue, red, white, I think is the order. Anyways, Blue is definitely like a lot about grief. Obviously they have like a color motif going through them, but something about that movie in particular, I don't know, it was like kind of like vacuous and like liminal and like skeletal, very like very atmospheric. It was pretty understated, and I remember being kind of underwhelmed at certain points just because there wasn't like a ton of like emotional heft. A lot of it was like a numbness that was highlighted, but that is like a big part of grief. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling at this point. It just kind of feels good to talk. I go a long time between making videos, so yeah, forgive my like verbiage. Ritual is another movie that was directed by Hideaki Anno, like the same like Evangelion director. He also made one called I think Love and Pop. Haven't seen that, but I would like to. Anyways, this one stars. It's like based on a book, and the author of the book is the main lead, and then the supplementing whatever supporting actor is another director called Shuji Iwai, who did, what was that movie called? All About Lily Choo Choo. Anyways, star-studded cast, and there was a ton of effort that went into like the set and like just minor details. The form itself was really interesting in terms of being a movie about documenting and like handheld footage interspersed and like kind of like unreliable narration, and yeah, it just like continues to expand scope wise, and there's certain parts I don't know how to convey it other than visually. But yeah, certain parts just really stuck with me. Unfortunately, it kind of relies on like this like crux of like mommy issues that I don't have, so they didn't super land, which is definitely something that someone with mommy issues would say. But I promise I don't have them. Like cross my heart, whatever, salt over my shoulder. Anyways, good movie, but like the central like gut punch of it just didn't super land for me, so wasn't left with like that much aside from the entertainment value of being like kind of sensory overloaded at how offbeat and like zany the delivery was. There's a part at the end where they're kind of like retrospectively going like and showing all of the footage that has like been shot during the movie, and it really like humanized it for me because I was like, oh, these are like real people, and I can kind of tell that they're real people because they're iffy at acting in certain parts. I do remember now that I'm thinking about it, like the main lead, the actress, it was like she was on the verge of laughing on every line that she delivered, but she was supposed to be like on the verge of like laughing or crying, but like it just, I don't know, it was weird. Anyways, another movie I watched was Close Up by Abbas Kiarostami. Really liked this one, like super speculative and like meta and just offbeat. I didn't realize until the very end what was happening or like what the movie was. Obviously, like at the credits, they tell you like who's playing who, but it just didn't like register. Like I forgot instantly, I guess. So then at the very end, when I was like, oh, this is just a true story, and like the actors themselves are like playing themselves in a, it was just super super meta. It's like based on a true story where someone impersonated a director and like just kind of like invaded is like a connotated word, but I don't know a better one right now. Went into and like enlisted this like family to kind of like scope out and like on the prospect of I'm gonna make a movie and y'all will be in it. And he's like in their house and like making them like rearrange. He's like power tripping on like pretending to be someone, and then he goes on trial, and it's like him playing himself, and the director is also in the movie. But the court proceedings in general are being recorded and like are the bulk of the movie, and it's like him looking at the camera and like a weird it refracts in so many different directions, and the lines themselves of the movie get like another meaning of like knowing that they already happened and this is like a recreation of it, because like the line between like telling the truth and acting and lying and pretending, and it just gets crazy layered, and yeah, really liked it. And then lastly, I watched Kiki's Delivery Service like a week or two ago for the first time, and the opening credits sequence when she's just like riding on the broom to that fire ass song is so cute. It just like, oh, it healed something in me. But yeah, those are some standout movies as of late. Have not watched too many. One more thing I just remembered because I wrote it down in this, but I wrote down some ins and outs for the last month or whatever it's been as well, because I liked the format last time. So here are 3 of each, maybe, I don't know. First in as of late is word games, like all like the New York Times whatever games, but Sudoku especially. Wait, Sudoku. Okay, I sound like a fake fan because I said it like that, but I've been playing the hell out of Sudoku. I have this little like peanuts Sudoku, cute as hell. I'm on 73, so I'm getting up there. There's like little comics in betwixt, but yeah, anyways, Sudoku, I've been playing it a lot. It's really fun, like really too fun. Like I'm wasting a lot of time playing it. Okay, second thing that is in right now that I started doing that has changed my life is doing the dishes before I eat whatever I cook, or like further, like the X Games mode of that is like unloading the dishwasher before I start cooking, because then it's just like immediate transfer, no more thoughts, and it's over, and it is so nice. Like the relief I feel. I just get like anxious otherwise, where I'm like, damn, this is a nice meal, but like I have like a new task to do immediately afterwards. So yeah, just getting it out of the way. And that kind of leads me to the out that I have, which is saving things for later, but instead of like a chore sense, this is like in like a hoarding sense. So kind of like what I mean is like how I'm double dipping on like Ross Gay books right now, because I'm like, might as well. Normally I would like save one and be like, that's like my like emergency in case of glass whatever Ross Gay book, but I don't think I'm gonna run out of good things to do in general, like experience. I can always just reread it, or just indulge, and it'll be okay. So that is definitely the motto for right now, is just like double dip, get as much as you can out of anything, because I need it right now. And then something else that is in is just the phrase "make a day out of it." Something about that just is really wholesome and like resonates with me, and just turns a chore into like an adventure, and it's awesome. The last thing that I'll leave y'all on that is out is the movie Lost in Translation. I also, like 2-ish months ago, rewatched Her. Did not hold up, like, at all. And I started watching Lost in Translation, and I got maybe like 20 minutes in, and I had to abort. I could not take it. So yeah, out for me is the Coppola Jones relationship. Just two thumbs down. That is embarrassing for both of y'all. Okay, so yeah, those are just some ins and outs. And the last thing that I will, okay, this is the for real the last thing, is asking for recommendations of albums and movies. So the next long form video that I have like planned to do for this year is like the end of the year favorites. But I feel like I missed a lot of things because I started becoming like a Luddite online and just not using the internet really. So a lot of like releases have just completely gone over my head. Like today, for example, it's not like super related, but I just listened to the James Blake album, like the People Being Robots to Heaven or whatever it's called. It came out in like September, and I just had no idea until today because I like went to listen to James Blake. But yeah, I feel like that is probably happening with like a ton of different artists or like I don't know, just releases in general. So yeah, just last call for some like buzzer beater favorites or like potential favorites. If there's an album or if there's a movie that came out this year that you think I might have missed, yeah, just send it my way. I will listen, I will watch, and it might just make the list. No promises, but yeah. I'm good on books though, so yeah, no book recommendations needed. Albums, movies. Thanks for watching, and see you later.